It's always a good idea for a company or a crypto project to launch or release news when the market is pumping. And that's simply because the impact the news will be much larger during good sentiment in the overall market when it's green rather than in the bear market. So this is something that interesting that happened today. Avalanche, I think probably not a lot of people know about, but I think people should learn about Avalanche, especially if you're someone who buys into Solana, because unlike Solana, Avalanche doesn't go down 3 times a week. It actually stays up. Um, and so today, the Ava Labs team announced that they're partnering, and I have air quotes up, with Amazon Web Services so that people can launch Avalanche nodes on AWS, which I think in reality people were doing that anyways. I believe the distribution of Avalanche nodes, something like 20% of them were already running on the AWS. Um, and so it's kind of odd news because it's really not news at all. Um, if you look at the headline here, uh, Avalanche is going to bring Web3 blockchain solutions to enterprises and governments. And it doesn't really go into in depth of what that really means. You can run nodes on AWS, and they're coming out with subnets on AWS sometime in the future. So it's just really like kind of like, yeah, we're working with Amazon, or who knows, maybe they paid Amazon. I mean, I don't know. The release of this news is very convenient in the last few days when the market has been pumping. But it's just it feels like it's not really exciting news at all. I mean, it's just kind of meaningless. I mean, how many times have we seen companies partnering up with cryptos, and that ultimately just leads to nothing? So, who knows? Maybe it's different this time. Unironically, it's different this time. I don't know. Because a couple months ago, maybe a couple weeks ago, they released something. They're partnering with Alibaba or something, and when was this? Yeah, it's kind of the same thing as this. Now Alibaba supports Avalanche nodes, so it's the same as this except for Amazon. So and when this came out back in December 2nd. So when was this? Yeah, it was like right here. It Yeah, there we go. It did nothing. Oh, it actually pumped a little bit. How much did it pump? Wow, we got a 6% off of that. And you can see today is much more impactful. Um, that moved up quite a bit, 30%. But again, the market overall is up. So releasing good news in a time when everything is green is obviously a really good idea. Now, what do I think is going to happen? Well, if we look at just something very simple as the RSI, I don't really care too much about TA, but there are just some things that I like to look at. I'm not about to sit here and draw fucking meme lines because they're all meaningless, but it is a very large pump in a very short period of time. It is a 30% pump in 3 hours. So, a 30% pump in 3 hours, it's gonna correct, and it's already starting to correct. Look at this giant red sell candle right here. Jesus, that's crazy. But if you have some AVAX, you might want to consider selling. It's not giving you financial advice, but it's always healthy to take profits. In the middle of these bear markets, especially when you can get a giant pump like this, it might be a good idea. I don't know, up to you. Um, but I think that still this is just going to be a bear market rally. Again, I was waiting for 18K, which they hit, so maybe 18 to 18.5. and that's kind of where it might start to top off. The thing that's coming in the coming days is CPI is coming out. I think Powell is set to speak again. So the thing about crypto markets is now that they lead the stock market. So obviously the stock market it opens and closes, and crypto doesn't. So sometimes, right before a CPI announcement, you can see this giant pump in Bitcoin, and that can usually indicate that the numbers are better than expected. People have insider information. But what's interesting about better than expected CPI is that if that winds up being true, in reality, that's much more of a worse indication than anything. It means that the Fed pivot is coming sooner than we think. I shouldn't say that. Sooner rather than later is what I meant to say, which would mean that the stocks are going to bottom out sooner rather than later. And why does that happen? Well, that happens because um, when the Fed pivots, that's when you start seeing the effects of the interest rates reach the overall larger economy. So you're going to start seeing people get laid off. You've already started to see that. You're going to start seeing companies' earnings go down, and when the earnings go down, the stocks go down. So that is what is coming. And so to think that we hit the bottom, no, that is not true. Maybe a bottom for a little while, but just don't FOMO. Just think logically. Just take a step back and look at the macro markets, and you can understand what's going on. So that's all I had. See ya.